What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Eric and this right behind me is my garage. Now in today's video, what I wanted to do is update you guys on the caliper upgrade that I did on my P11. So it's been about a year now since I installed these 300ZX calipers. Some of you guys have been wondering how the calipers have been holding up and how they compare to the stock P11 calipers. So in this video, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the benefits and some of the cons about this upgrade on this particular vehicle. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the video. So this is my P11. I've done extensive work on this vehicle, so if you guys want to get up to speed on it, go ahead and click my playlist so that you guys can see why this vehicle is so special, well, at least to me. This is what we're mainly going to be focusing on today's video, so let's go ahead and remove the wheel so that we can take a closer look at the caliper. So this right here is my 300ZX big brake upgrade that I did on my P11. As you guys can see, the calipers don't look as good as they did when I first put them on. The calipers are not leaking, and that's a good sign because I did rebuild these calipers. Now if you guys want to learn how to rebuild calipers, go ahead and click above so that I can show you guys how it's done. But like I said, these calipers are not leaking, which is a good sign. The stainless steel lines have been holding up well, and there's nothing on here that is concerning. Now something that I will say about these calipers is that I did paint them. So this right here is not what you're gonna find on your standard 300ZX calipers. Something that I will say though about this paint is that it hasn't been holding up very well. It's pretty much stained from all the brake dust. It's embedded into the paint. So if you guys are gonna do this to your calipers, make sure that you guys use paint that's specifically designed for brake calipers, because this is what's gonna happen to yours. So that's the only thing that I will have to say that hasn't held up well on these calipers. So right off the bat, the first thing that I noticed about these calipers were that they were very weak. Now they look awesome, yes, but they don't really serve the purpose of braking very well. I feel like the stock calipers on these vehicles are great and they stop the vehicle fast. When I installed these calipers on my vehicle, I noticed right off the bat that they didn't bite as hard as the stock ones. That all has to be because I'm not using the right rotor with this caliper setup. So I'm using a Infinity M30 rotor in the front. This is a 4x114 pattern. That is the reason that I used it, but I should be using the 300ZX front rotor. But I wanted to use this setup because it was a direct bolt-on and it works. But the downside to that is that it doesn't brake as good as the stock calipers. As a result of me not using the correct rotor, I have to be careful with the brake pads. As you guys can see, I'm running pretty low and the pistons on the caliper are pretty pushed out. So if I'm not careful, these guys can pop out of the caliper and I'm gonna basically have no brakes. So that's another downside to this setup. You have to be careful with these pads. You have to replace them earlier than you should, because if you don't, that will happen and it's dangerous. So those are the biggest downsides to these calipers. Now let me go ahead and talk to you guys about some of the benefits. Well, right off the bat, the first thing that you guys are going to notice is that you have a 4-piston caliper that looks awesome compared to the standard 1-piston sliding caliper that the vehicles have. So that has to be the positive side to this caliper setup. Another benefit to this type of setup on this vehicle is the fact that you'll be able to change out the brake pads faster than you would on a regular sliding caliper. So it's pretty easy. You just gotta unclip these guys and push these pins out, and then you should be able to pop out the brake pads. So I think it makes it easier to do the brake service on these type of calipers. And obviously the last thing that I would probably say is a benefit to this setup is the fact that if you use it correctly, it technically should perform better than your stock one. In my case, I'm not using the correct parts, so I can't really say too much about the braking. If you guys use the right rotor, I'm pretty sure you guys will have a lot better results than I have. But since this is what I have on my vehicle, these are my pros and cons about how I feel about this brake caliper setup on this vehicle. I know some of you guys are wanting to do this to your vehicle, but something that I would suggest for you guys to do is to not do what I did. Do something else. Maybe do a Maxima 12.65 rotor with caliper, or maybe try to find the Spec V rotors and Brembos so that you can have a better braking response. This is good, but I wouldn't recommend you guys buying this setup because of these reasons that I've mentioned. Now, there is some benefits to it, like how I mentioned in the video, but you're not really going to notice too much of a benefit by doing what I did. So I would hold off until you can find some Spec V rotors and Brembos, or try to go with the Maxima caliper and rotor so that you guys can have a bigger brake rotor and bigger caliper. Now, you guys could use the 300ZX rotor that should be used with this caliper, but then you're gonna have to drill the rotor to a 4x114 pattern, and you're gonna have to shave about 5 millimeters on the diameter of the rotor to fit this front hub and caliper setup. So you're gonna have to shave down the caliper, and it's just gonna be a hassle every time you replace the rotors, because you're gonna have to do the same thing every time you do it. So you could do that, but like I said, you're gonna have a harder time each time you have to replace your rotor. So there you guys have it. Those are my pros and cons about these particular calipers on my P11. Now, bottom line, I don't think that I can recommend these calipers on this particular car, just because I've had multiple close encounters with crashing other cars because I've had brake fade or the brakes are not biting hard. So I would honestly suggest you guys looking into a different upgrade for these vehicles. Luckily for me, I do have a set of these guys right here. So these are the Spec V front Brembos that I'm hoping I can install soon. I need to get the rest of the parts that I need for my 5-lug swap, and once I get that, I'm gonna install these. So stay tuned for that video. If you guys did like this one, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more videos like this. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Peace out. So now that you guys know that, is anybody interested in buying the 300ZX calipers?